It's the hottest trend in the world right now, and as Time magazine says, people are making millions on NFTs. Just listen to these crazy stories. They are amazing. 24-year-old Sean Kelly recently put up these cartoonish dinos for sale. 18 minutes later, 18 minutes, they were sold out and he walked away with $2 million. Someone paid $1,300 for this image. And 2 months later, it was sold for $3.3 million. That is a mind-blowing return of 253,746% in just 2 months. Tom Osmond bought this image of a rock for $6,630, something that most people would consider insane. And yet, less than 3 weeks later, he sold it for $1.8 million. Who's laughing now? And what the heck is going on? Now, when it comes to NFTs, most Americans are just sitting on the sidelines, scratching their heads, but the few who understand what's happening are getting rich. Not even the recent market volatility has been able to stop this trend. As Forbes says, NFTs are still booming despite the crypto crash. And Time magazine even called it a feeding frenzy with new highs almost daily. So, as an Emmy Award-winning reporter, I decided to get to the bottom of what many are calling the new crypto gold rush. And I traveled over 3,000 miles to meet with a legendary crypto millionaire who was voted most trusted crypto expert in an independent poll in 2020 by 130,000 analysts. Teeka Tiwari is a former Wall Street vice president and hedge fund manager who picked Bitcoin in 2016 before it skyrocketed as high as 15,787%. He picked Ethereum when it was trading for just $9 before it soared as high as 54,244%. And he picked another crypto called NEO at 13 cents before it exploded as high as 151,323%, which, by the way, turns $1,000 into more than $1.5 million. In fact, Teeka has recommended the #1 crypto every year since 2016. And now he's going to help me get to the bottom of this NFT craze. What are NFTs and why are people making millions from these things? Is this something that everyday Americans should be investing in, or is this just a passing fad that we should avoid? Pay close attention, because we're not only getting all the answers, but Teeka will also reveal his #1 way of playing the hottest trend in the market right now. Here's the full interview. Hello, everyone. I'm John Burke, and I'm here with Teeka Tiwari. And my goal today is to get to the bottom of this NFT craze. Teeka, it's good to see you. How are you?
It's great seeing you, John. I'm doing great, and it's wonderful to be here.
Well, I got to tell you, like most Americans, I'm watching this NFT boom from the sidelines, and I'm asking myself, has everyone lost their mind? I mean, this is nuts. The other day, I read a story of a guy who bought this pixelated image that we're seeing right here on the screen for about $83,000, which that's more than enough to buy a brand new Tesla. And yet, as crazy as that sounds, what happened next is just unbelievable. Someone else came along and offered to buy it from him for more than $9.4 million. And this is where the story gets really crazy. He refused to sell it. I mean, that's insane. Who says no to $9.4 million? What am I missing here, Teeka?
John, I can't blame you or anyone for thinking this is insane, because it really is nuts.
Okay, so you as well, you think this is crazy?
There's no denying that the price of some of these non-fungible tokens are ridiculous. That's why just a few months ago, I laughed this idea out of the room. Look, John, like most people, I couldn't believe what was going on. I couldn't fathom the lunacy of a cartoon ape selling for 6 figures. But you know what, John? I had to eat my words, because the reality is all these images that are selling for millions, they're all a huge distraction.
A distraction? From what?
From what's really happening behind the scenes, which is a much bigger story. So let's forget about the Bored Apes. Let's forget about the crypto punks, the squiggles, and the dozens of other hyped up art you've probably seen on the news. The real story is this. NFT technology will launch the next generation of the internet.
Well, wait, stop right there. The next generation of the internet?
Yeah, and look, before you think I've lost my mind, John, you should know that this is not just me spouting this out and saying this. The Wall Street Journal has called it the future vision of the internet. Forbes has confirmed that, and these are their words, a new iteration of the internet is being worked on, and this will have massive implications for society. And even the Washington Post has chimed in. They've said this new internet is inevitable, and the Silicon Valley C-suite has been obsessed with the idea.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that NFTs are not just about these images that are selling for millions. This is much more than that.
It's much, much bigger than that. And again, John, I want to be very clear here. This is not me gazing into a crystal ball, just trying to give you my opinion. I want you to take a look at this chart. So there's a company called M13. They're a tech venture capital firm. They estimate this new internet will be a $139.3 trillion trend. That's more than 63 times bigger than the entire crypto market, almost 3 times bigger than the entire US stock market. So there are literally trillions of dollars on the line here. But most people, they still don't get it. And by the time this story becomes front page news, by the time it seems like, oh, this is common sense, it will be too late. And I fear investors who miss this trend, they're going to regret it for the rest of their lives.
So you took really a 180-degree turn here. You went from skeptic to believer, didn't you?
I did. You see, I worked on Wall Street for over 15 years as a vice president of a major bank, and then I did another 10 years as a private hedge fund manager. One of the most important things I learned in all those years is that it is okay to be wrong. It is okay to make a mistake. No one is perfect. But it is not okay to stay wrong. I'm telling you right now, John, saying NFTs are a fad is like saying the internet was a fad in the early 1990s. And if you end up missing this trend, NFTs, because you think it's a fad, or because it doesn't make sense, or because it makes you uncomfortable, I'll tell you this, it could be among the biggest financial mistakes of your entire life.
Strong words, Teeka.
I know, John, but those who are sitting on the sidelines are already missing out on some of the fastest gains in the history of all financial markets. You see, there are several NFT projects that are helping build this next generation of the internet. And what's going to blow everybody's mind is that these projects have nothing to do with JPEGs.
That's fascinating. So what you're saying is, I don't need to speculate on this random artwork, these JPEGs that we see on the news. I don't have to worry about that.
No, the beauty here is that you can invest directly in some of these projects without having to buy a single piece of digital art. And today, I'm going to show everybody watching exactly how, because some of these NFT projects are moving faster than anything I've seen in my 30-year career in financial markets. So I'll give you an example. This NFT project called Decentraland, it jumped 6,443% in 2021 alone. Now, as you can see, that turns $1,000, just $1,000, into more than $65,000 in under 12 months.
My gosh. And all that last year alone, right?
Just last year. So let me put this in perspective for you, John. 2021 was an amazing year for the stock market, right?
Oh yeah, it went up about 25%.
It's going to go down as one of the best years ever. And yet this single NFT project jumped 257 times higher than the stock market. So this is not an isolated incident. This is going on across the entire space. So I want to show you another example. This is an NFT project called The Sandbox. If you had put just $1,000 into it, somewhere in January of 2021, just by Thanksgiving, 11 months later, you'd be sitting on more than $226,000. That's 225 times your money.
That's what everybody wants right there. And it's unbelievable. That's almost $250,000 just from $1,000 in less than a year.
But you've seen nothing yet. I want you to take a look at this other NFT project. It's called Axie Infinity, and it jumped even higher. It moved 36,478%.
It can't be right. 36,000% 1 year.
It's not a typo. It looks like a typo, but it's not. That's an insane 364 times your money, right? So you put $1,000 in January, less than a year later, you're sitting on $365,000.
You think about it. Most Americans spend their entire lives saving money for retirement, and it's a grind. We're talking about decades of investing, and they're still never able to build a $365,000 nest egg.
John, I've worked on Wall Street and in finance for decades, and I've seen every single investment strategy you can think of. So I'll be the first one to say that these types of insane gains should not be possible. It should not be possible for anyone to start with $1,000 and end up with a lifetime's worth of nest egg in less than a year. That should not happen. But as I'm going to show you here tonight, when you get into the right, exciting NFT project early, the impossible becomes possible.
That's amazing. It shouldn't be happening, but it is. So now, what am I going to do about it? So you're saying that all these gains that you just mentioned, 64 times your money, 225 times your money, and even 364 times your money, I could have made all these gains last year.
100%. All of them in the span of a year. Now, I want to be very clear. This is very important, John. I cannot guarantee we'll see the same gains again this year, next year, or the year after. Nobody can. And anybody who says they can, they're either lying to themselves or they're lying to you. Here's my point. My point is you could have made all those gains starting with one click of a mouse, John. If you ever bought a stock, you can do this. That's why I say it's not okay to stay wrong with this massive trend. It's okay if you missed it last year, but you've got no excuse for missing it this year.
But Teeka, 2022, as you know, started with a big sell-off in cryptos. We're seeing a lot of market volatility. Are you sure? Are you sure that now is a good time to be jumping into this new trend?
Look, I hear you, John, and you're right about that. Bitcoin and many cryptos started the year with a big correction. January was not a pretty month in the crypto world. But you know what? NFT sales broke records in January with $4 billion in sales. That's 40 times more sales in January than the entire year of 2020.
Wow.
In just 1 month. And that's in the midst of a crypto correction, which you pointed out. So this is the reason why Forbes wrote, and I quote, "The NFT explosion has defied a broader crypto market drawback, which has pulled Bitcoin down this year." Look, John, I know that it feels like the right thing to do is to dismiss NFTs as a fad and go on with your life. I get it. Look, it's the comfortable thing to say and to do, right?
Yeah.
If you call something a fad, you're basically letting yourself off the hook.
Interesting.
You're giving yourself a pass on the whole thing. You're basically saying, this isn't comfortable, I don't want to think about it. Sure, let all those people get rich, and you can kind of be in denial about it. And look, if that's how you feel, fine, there's nothing I can do about that. But what I'm here to tell everybody watching, John, is the kind of money that's changing hands right now in this space can truly change your financial future in ways that have never been possible before. So if you decide to stay out of this market and you decide to stay wrong, I believe you're making the biggest financial mistake of your entire life.
Okay, everything that you just said totally resonates. I get what you're saying, and those gains that you mentioned, they're mind-blowing. But I don't know, Teeka. I mean, it still feels to me like it's just a bunch of crypto nerds collecting JPEGs and other images that can be easily copied.
John, these projects I just mentioned, and I want to be clear here, have nothing to do with JPEGs. Here, what they're doing instead is that they're harnessing NFT technology in a way that's going to transform the world. So the first thing I need everyone to understand is that any digital asset can be packaged as an NFT. It's not restricted to just artwork. And as I'll explain later today, even physical assets, such as this chair we're sitting in or this watch I'm wearing, can be packaged as a non-fungible token. So again, I want you to forget about digital art for now. I know that's difficult because that's all we hear about. Because while everyone is focusing on these ridiculous JPEGs that are selling for millions of dollars, the savviest investors in the world are investing untold amounts of money in the technology underlining all of this lunacy.
Interesting. I think I've been looking at the frame instead of the picture. The picture is the technology. And what you're saying is that they're buying into these NFTs?
Right, they're going all in on NFT technology.
Okay, like who? Can you name?
Sure, I'm talking about people like billionaire Mark Cuban.
Oh, the Shark Tank star and owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, most people know him for that TV show, but do you know how he actually made his fortune?
Yeah, I think it was the dot-com boom, right?
Yes, in the mid-90s, he founded one of the first online streaming companies, and just a few years later, he sold it to Yahoo for a cool $5.7 billion. So look, clearly he knows a thing or two about the internet, right, John?
Yeah, that would do it, yeah.
Well, he said recently that if he had to start all over again, and this is a big statement, he said he'd build his entire business around NFT technology.
Really?
So when people asked him follow-up questions about it, he said, and I quote, "This is like the early internet days all over again." He said, "I think NFT technology is going to be huge." And he called it the Holy Grail. He said, "This is the Holy Grail."
So he agrees with you that this will be the next generation of the internet.
He does, and he's not just saying it. He's putting his money on the line, which is what really matters. He's already invested millions in this space, buying stakes in NFT platforms like Super Rare, Mintable, CryptoSlam, and OpenSea. John, do you really think he'd be investing millions in this technology if it were just a fad?
No.
No, and he's not alone. Kevin O'Leary is also getting involved.
You mean Mr. Wonderful?
Right. Now, I don't know if you know this, but he also made his fortune in the 90s when he sold his online education company, the internet again, for $4.2 billion. So take a listen to what he's saying now. He says, "I think the NFT market is going to be absolutely huge, and I'm going to be a participant in it. I think it's going to be bigger than Bitcoin." Again, ask yourself, if this technology is just a fad, why is Kevin O'Leary so fired up about it?
It's a good question, Teeka.
Look at another internet pioneer. This is an entrepreneur called Gary Vaynerchuk. He launched one of the first e-commerce platforms for alcohol in the country when he took his family's wine business online in the late 1990s. He then went on to build a social media empire. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He invested early in Facebook, Twitter, long before they went public. So I'll tell you this is a man who knows a thing or two about the internet, right, John?
Yes, right.
Well, he's already making millions from NFT technology. And when someone asked him why he was pouring so much money into this space, he said, and I quote, "It's the next big thing. This is going to be massive. The internet changed our lives, and NFTs will do that as well." Again, John, ask yourself, if this technology is just a fad with no lasting value, why are the top internet pioneers in the world that made hundreds of millions and billions of dollars from getting into the internet early, why are they now betting millions of dollars on NFT technology?
Okay, so you're starting to pierce my cynicism. I mean, when you put it like that, it really does make me think that this is not a fad. There's really something to it, something really big.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at what's happening in Silicon Valley right now.
They're also investing in NFT technology?
Well, take a look at this headline. It should be coming up on the screen. Silicon Valley investors say the money-making possibilities in the NFT world are limitless.
Wow, limitless.
John, again, that's not me saying that. This is coming from the smartest investors in Silicon Valley. I'm talking about people like billionaire venture capitalist Mark Andreessen. You definitely know the name.
Of course, he's the founder of Netscape, the very first internet browser that we saw in the 1990s.
I think it's fair to say that nobody understands the internet and the implications of the internet better than Mark Andreessen. Today, he's arguably the most important venture capitalist in the world, bar none. This man is such a visionary that he's been called the man who makes the future. He got into Facebook, Twitter, Airbnb, Stripe, and Coinbase all before they went public. Clearly, he's got a knack for seeing tech trends before anyone else. So why am I bringing this up, John? His firm just raised $2.2 billion to invest in, guess what? NFT technology.
$2.2 billion. You know, Teeka, all these people that you just mentioned, these are not just random financial pundits trying to be a hotshot on TV, are they? I mean, these people are the real deal. They're some of the top VCs and billionaires on the planet. And if they're all jumping into NFTs, what are we all missing?
That's exactly the question I asked myself a few months ago, John. I thought to myself, hold on a second, wait a minute. These people are not dumb.
Right.
They're some of the smartest investors on the planet. They would never flush hundreds of millions and billions of dollars down the toilet investing in a fad. They just wouldn't. So here's what I did. I went down this rabbit hole to find out everything I could about NFTs because I realized I clearly was missing something, John. Remember what I said about it's okay to be wrong, it's not okay to stay wrong?
That's right.
So I started doing a tremendous amount of research. I started doing real boots on the ground research. You see, over the last few years, I've built a substantial network in the blockchain space, which includes the co-founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, billionaire investor Mike Novogratz, and Cardano creator Charles Hoskinson. And after talking to blockchain developers, billionaires, and major investors in the space, I kept hearing two simple words over and over again. John, these two words have been the foundation of the biggest wealth creation events in history. They're behind the birth of capitalism. They're behind the birth of the Industrial Revolution. They're even behind America's rise as the wealthiest nation in history. And it was these two simple words that made me change my entire viewpoint about NFTs and about NFT technology.
Sitting on the edge of my seat, I am really curious, Teeka. What are the words?
I promise I'll tell you in just a moment, because these two words are the key to understanding how transformative NFT technology really is. And John, once I understood these two words, it was like having a veil pulled from my eyes. I was blind, but now I could finally see. And what I could see, John, is that NFTs are actually powering the largest wealth creation event of my entire lifetime. I realize that NFTs are the building blocks of the next generation of the internet. Now, as Medium.com says, NFTs are here to stay and will be foundational to our new world. So today I'm going to explain how NFT technology will change how we shop, how we work, how we invest, how we retire, how we travel, how we attend events, how we make friends, and so much, much more.
I have to say, my mind is expanding. I'm afraid that I'm starting to get this, actually, but I think back, I had no idea that NFTs were such a big deal.
Remember, this is estimated to be a $139 trillion trend. So there are literally tens of trillions of dollars up for grabs. That's why today I'm going to share a couple of different ways of playing this NFT boom, including one investment you can make directly from your regular stock brokerage account. And I'll even give away a recommendation that's set to benefit from this NFT craze. Absolutely free and no strings attached.
So just to be clear, Teeka, you're going to give it away to everyone watching this. So what's the catch?
There is a catch, and I'm glad you asked. I think it's a fair exchange. So here's what I'm asking. You give me a few minutes of your time to hear what I discovered about NFTs. In return, I'll give you the name of an investment that I believe could 10x your money in the coming months and years ahead. And again, the catch, and this is very important because I want everyone to pay very special attention. This is not really a catch, but this is something that you need to do. You'll need to act very quickly, because we're moments away from a watershed moment in this market. It's an unprecedented event that, and hold on for this, John, that's guaranteed to happen.
Wow, guaranteed.
John, that's a word I hate to use. I rarely use it, but I think it's important everyone watching this know that this is not Teeka Tiwari making a prediction. This is not one of those things that might happen, we hope happens, if the stars align, it'll happen. This is happening with 100% certainty. Now, as CoinDesk analyst Christine Kim says, it will happen beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I believe this event that is guaranteed to happen will accelerate the adoption of NFTs and this new internet, sending these investments skyrocketing in price. Now, the website medium.com even wrote about it, calling it a game changer in the crypto universe. I think historians will look back and mark this period as the beginning of a whole brand new internet. And it could happen by March 31st.
Wow. So by the end of this month. All right, well, we've got no time to waste here, obviously, so let's get into the details. And Teeka, by the way, I can't wait to hear all about it because, you know what, you've made some pretty big calls in technology before, and you were spot on. For example, in 2003, shares of Apple had just crashed 70%. Nobody wanted to touch it, but when you were on Wall Street, you picked Apple for your private clients in the midst of all that chaos, and shares exploded more than 56,000%. Congratulations on that one. But then again, in 2019, you gave a presentation behind closed doors, and you singled out Square, NVIDIA, and Tesla as some of your top tech plays, and just look what happened since then. Square jumped as high as 357%, NVIDIA went even higher, 679%, and Tesla, of course, has jumped as high as an incredible 2,453%. And while all these market-beating gains were going on, it's nothing compared to your crypto track record. Now, this is amazing. Honestly, the first time I saw it, Teeka, it left me speechless. You simply recommended the #1 returning crypto every year since 2016. That's no accident. And I'm not surprised that 130,000 independent analysts voted you as the most trusted crypto expert in the world. I mean, just $1,000 invested in your crypto recommendations across your research services could have grown into as much as $158,870 in Bitcoin, $367,515 in Binance, $543,440 in Ethereum, and $569,482 in Luna, and more than $1.5 million in Neo. That's unheard of. After delivering all these massive gains, you're now saying NFTs. NFTs will be the next big thing. And if you're right again, man, it sounds like the opportunity of a lifetime. So here's my question. You really think this NFT craze is the beginning of a new internet?
I do. It's a new version of the internet where we can finally keep track of who owns what in the digital space. And I want to be clear here. I'm not the only person who believes this to be true. John, I don't know if you remember this, but in 1994, only a third of Fortune 500 companies had a registered website with their name. You know what most people thought? They thought the internet was just hype. Do you remember those days?
Yeah, I do. A lot of people thought this is just a fad.
Right. In 1994, think about this. In 94, a journalist even called McDonald's headquarters and asked them, hey, you guys think about registering your name as a domain? You know, it's probably a good idea to register McDonald's.com. And you know what they said?
What?
They said they weren't sure because they didn't understand the internet. Think about how insane that is, John. Right? Initially, most companies didn't even bother having a website. But soon they realized the internet was about to launch an entire new economy. What we now know is e-commerce. And you see, once they realized that, everything changed. There was a mad rush to buy and register domains. I'm telling you this because history is repeating itself. Right now, it's like 1995. All these companies are realizing NFTs are just the beginning of the next generation of the internet. And there's an absolute mad rush going on right now, just like we saw in the early days of the internet.
Boy, it's amazing how fast things change, isn't it? So companies, not just people, but companies are also getting involved in NFTs.
John, you have no idea. There should be a list of companies and organizations coming up on the screen. For example, all the major sports leagues are getting involved. So we're talking about the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, the UFC, and many others. Nike just filed 7 new trademarks for this new internet. Adidas just partnered with one of these NFT projects called The Sandbox. Major record labels like Universal Music Group, Warner Music Group, and Sony Music Group are planning to get involved as well because they know NFTs will change the music industry forever. Hollywood is investing millions of dollars into NFTs. You've got Disney, HBO, and Discovery. All of them are getting involved. Walmart and BMW are planning to use NFTs to disrupt their supply chain. eBay is already selling NFTs on their site. McDonald's, Budweiser, Coca-Cola, Campbell's, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Charmin, and Pringles, they're all getting involved. In fact, Coca-Cola just sold its very first NFT, and they made more than $575,000 in just 72 hours.
Once again, I had no idea about this, Teeka.
Yeah, but hold on, John, there's more. Visa is also getting involved. The head of crypto at Visa even said, and I quote, "We think NFTs will play an important role in the future of retail, social media, entertainment, and commerce." Now, look, MasterCard, they don't want to get left behind, so guess what? They're getting involved in the space too. Now, these next few companies I'm going to mention, I'm not sure if you've heard of them, these little operators, Twitter, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook. Ring any bells, John?
Familiar, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So all these big tech players, they're all in. Even Mark Zuckerberg, he's betting the entire future of his company on this NFT trend.
Wow.
In 2021 alone, he not only invested $10 billion into this trend, he said this is going to be the successor of the mobile internet. John, again, I'm not talking about random startups with a bunch of high school dropouts working out of a garage, hoping and praying that they've found the next trend. I'm talking about the biggest tech giants of our time that run the internet today that are all in on NFT technology.
And one thing that I noticed about what you just said right there is that you have companies from all different sorts of industries.
Right, that's because this isn't just a crypto story. It's a technology story that will change every single industry in the world. Whether you're selling Coca-Cola or whether you're selling training shoes like Nike. That's why ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood said, "It's a big idea that will probably infiltrate every sector in ways that we cannot even imagine right now." I mean, this is a who's who of Fortune 500 companies from every single industry you can imagine, from music to movies, food to retail, social media, supply chain. Check out this entire list and ask yourself, are all these CEOs a bunch of morons? Are they fools throwing away shareholder capital? Or are they getting ahead of a new trend that will completely transform the internet and our economy?
Well, I see your point. I mean, I'm really starting to see this, that I'm missing out on something big and it's happening really fast. You know that regret that sometimes you feel? Well, I'm starting to feel it.
Yeah, unfortunately, most people, they're going to miss out on this trend because they think NFTs are just all about ridiculously priced JPEGs that only multimillionaires can afford. Now, I'll tell you this, John, I've seen this play out over the course of my career again and again and again and again. Whenever there's a new revolutionary technology, most people spend years, scratching their heads, thinking, "Oh, this just doesn't make any sense." You know, the cell phone, the color TV, the radio, the automobile. This is all ridiculous. Why do I need a telephone in my house? Why do I need a telephone in my pocket? And that's why most people end up missing out on the biggest tech trends of their respective generation. Because by the time they realize it's actually a big deal, it's too late. All the big money has been made. We've seen this time and time again. How many times do we need to say this play out in our lives before we say, "I'm not missing this one"? Because again, today, if you think about this, it's obvious to all of us something like the personal computers would change the world, right? That's obvious to you now, correct?
It's obvious, and it's a consciousness shift because you want to think, let's just see if it works and then I'll get in. Right. But by that time, it's too late.
It's too late. So I'm talking about personal computers specifically because when they were invented, do you think most people embraced it as a life-changing technology?
No.
No. Instead, they were scratching their heads and thinking, well, what the heck do I need a personal computer for? In fact, in the late 70s, Ken Olsen, who arguably at the time was the biggest tech luminary in the world, founder of Digital Equipment Corporation, famously said, and this was a guy that knew the space, he said, "There's no reason why anyone would want a computer in their home.
You know, I've been wrong a lot in my life. I don't know if I've ever been that wrong.
But John, what's shocking is that because of his position in the industry, most people believed him. And what's even worse, they missed the boat on the personal computer revolution that could have changed their lives forever. But the few who saw what was coming had a chance to transform their lives and make an absolute fortune. Take a look at this chart. Had you invested just $1,000 in Microsoft when it launched Windows in 1985, you could have made as much as $611,350 by the 90s.
So what we're saying here is that you could have built an entire nest egg starting with just $1,000.
John, at the time I was working on Wall Street and I actually had a chance to buy Microsoft, but I passed on it. Why? Because I thought it had already gone up too much. And I never changed my mind. John, I was wrong and I stayed wrong. And that literally cost my clients at the time millions of dollars in lost profits. Do you know what kind of regret that does to you? Do you know what that regret does to you? Even now, 30 years later, as a mature man, I still regret it. I still think about it. It still eats away at me. It was so obvious in hindsight how big Microsoft was going to be. And yet I had doubts, and yet I allowed the volatility to scare me, and yet I allowed the naysayers saying, oh, why do we need a personal computer? Microsoft is going to have a limited market. And they were all wrong. And I will tell you this, John, I'm not going to make the same mistake with NFTs.
Not to let you off the hook, but it is an easy mistake to make. You know, it's funny you mentioned personal computers because we briefly discussed the internet before. And I also remember when the internet was invented that most people were asking themselves, what is this? What is this internet thing? I don't know, it's too confusing. Why do I need it? I'm not in.
Exactly. It's another great example. Today, most of us couldn't even imagine living without the internet. I don't have my phone on me right now, and I'm freaking out. I mean, if I take the internet away from one of my children, and they're adults now, I mean, they'll lose their mind.
Yeah.
Right? So today, the internet, it's like breathing air to most people. They cannot exist without it. But John, I want you to listen to what famous economist Paul Krugman said about the internet in 1998. He said, and I quote, "The growth of the internet will slow dramatically. Most people have nothing to say to each other. And by 2005 or so, it will become clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machines."
Very possibly, very definitely, without question, the worst prediction ever.
The guy couldn't have been more wrong. And yet, everyone who listened to him, and many people did, ended up missing out on life-changing wealth. The course of their life was negatively impacted for 20 years by listening to this idiot.
Wow.
So think about this. You had companies like Cisco, the router company, they were posting returns of 67,491% in the 1990s. You put $1,000 into Cisco, it turns into $670,000. Think about this more recently. Just $1,000 invested in Netflix, a company that everybody said was going to fail, would have grown into more than $650,000. $1,000 into Amazon, which again, people didn't think, well, why do we need e-commerce? I'm going to go to the store to buy what I want. Well, had you listened to those people, you'd have missed out on $2.3 million in gains on a $1,000 investment.
That never gets old, hearing those stories. That never gets old. It's just amazing. So what you're saying here is that believing that the internet was just a fad would have cost us massive gains.
Millions of dollars. And you got to equate the dollars to what it means to your life. If you had a chance to make $2 million and you don't make $2 million, how does that change the course of the next 20 years, John?
Wow.
It's dramatic, right?
It's dramatic.
From where you live, to what you eat, to maybe how many children you have, to what schools they go to,
wow,
to your relationship with your spouse, it affects everything.
The whole arc of your life.
The whole arc of your life. You see, time and time again, when we're faced with a new revolutionary technology, most people make this mistake and they dismiss it. I'll give you another more recent example. Just take a look at Bitcoin and cryptos. What did you think of Bitcoin when you first heard about it?
You know, to be honest, it sounded like, I don't know, magic internet money. I didn't understand it, wasn't really interested. Nobody knew exactly who created it, how did it work. I don't know, it was just too confusing for me. So it didn't make sense. And then again, all I kept hearing in the media was that it might be some sort of pyramid scheme. So I was out.
Right, and you're not alone. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011. At the time, it was trading for $7. And like you, I thought it was nonsense. At best, it looked like a bunch of computer geeks trading worthless bits of computer code amongst themselves. And at the worst, it looked like a Ponzi scheme.
Okay, that's exactly how I felt right there, Teeka.
Right, but around 2014 and 2015, I started seeing some of the smartest investors on the planet actually investing in Bitcoin. I'm talking about people like Mark Andreessen, who I mentioned before. Look, again, he's arguably the world's best venture capitalist. I don't know of a better venture capitalist than him. And he started investing in Bitcoin in 2014. So that made me stop and think, hold on, I might be missing out on something big here. So in 2016, I flew to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas to listen to a talk on Bitcoin. It was there that I finally discovered the transformational power of Bitcoin and its underlying blockchain technology. And John, it was like a fire was ignited in my brain. I remember thinking, my goodness, this is going to transform the world and make a lot of people a lot of money.
I find this intersection very interesting because you were wrong about Bitcoin, but you didn't stay wrong.
I didn't stay wrong. And remember, I found Bitcoin originally in 2011 at $7. By the time I changed my mind on it, it was 450.
Gosh. Well, listen, I'm still kicking myself for missing out on the boom in Bitcoin cryptos. I wish I had met you back then because that was the opportunity of a lifetime, and for all practical purposes, it's gone.
But John, if you missed out on the boom in Bitcoin, I do have good news. Actually, it's wonderful news. You have a second chance to change your financial future forever, and you can do it with a small stake. All you have to do, and this is really the only decision anybody has to make here tonight watching this program, all you have to do is make a decision to not stay wrong. It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. Just don't make the same mistake you made with cryptos, which was just staying wrong. That was the mistake you made.
So wait a minute, you think that this is deja vu all over again, don't you? I mean, you think that NFTs are the next breakthrough technology that most people don't fully understand.
By now, don't you believe the same?
I do.
Right. So there's one big difference, and this is very important. So I want everyone to pay very special attention to this. The gains are happening faster in the NFT space than I've seen in my entire 30-year career, even faster than Bitcoin. And I've owned Bitcoin since it was in the 400s.
Well, everyone knows that Bitcoin is the fastest moving asset in the world, so those are big words too.
Right, you're right about that. I mean, think of Bitcoin like the McLaren that goes 250 miles per hour. But let me tell you, these NFT projects are making Bitcoin look like a golf cart that barely hits 12 miles an hour. Now, John, if that sounds like hype, take a look at this chart. These are the peak gains from last year. As you can see, Bitcoin jumped as high as 125%, which is a great move.
Yeah, it's pretty good, more than double your money in just a year.
Right, it beats pretty much any asset class you can think of, but it's nothing compared to what's happening with these NFT projects. For example, let's say at the beginning of 2021, you put $500 into each of these projects, just $500. At the peak of their performance, you could have made $32,000, $113,000, and even $256,000 of $500 investments.
And all that just last year.
All from 2021.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Teeka, if this is right, some of these projects are making 400 times more money than Bitcoin. That's absolutely insane. How is that possible?
It should not be possible. But remember what I said about these NFT projects?
That the impossible becomes possible.
Right. the impossible becomes possible. That's why in just a moment, I'm going to give away a free recommendation. But John, I can see you getting all fired up with these gigantic gains, and I don't blame you. I just don't want you to get too excited because we might have a problem on our hands.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What problem?
Well, look, the window of opportunity, it's not going to stay open forever. It's already closing very rapidly. And I can't emphasize this enough. I wish I could just tell you we can all just take our time and mosey on along down this path. But the reality is that's not the way the world works. By the end of this month, it could already be too late. You see, there's an unprecedented event that's guaranteed to happen, but it can only happen one time. And if you miss it, there is no second chance. That's why I believe this event will single-handedly launch NFTs from early adoption to mass adoption. And that's when we'll see the biggest gain.
Explain that. What do you mean?
Well, take a look at this chart. Every new technology follows this pattern of adoption. First, the innovators adopt the technology as soon as it becomes available. Then it expands to early adopters until it hits an inflection point where the tech goes mainstream and it reaches mass adoption. Do you see that inflection point in the chart, John?
Sure.
Well, that's where all the money is. It's in that inflection point when you see the biggest gains, because that's when you go from just a few million people using the technology to billions of people using it.
And you think we're at this inflection point with NFTs?
Yes, I believe this single event that could happen as early as this month will be like flipping a switch. And I want to be clear, this is not just me saying this or sharing just my research. I want you to hear what other people in this space are saying about this, specifically the blockchain director at Microsoft. He said, we've reached an inflection point. Sound familiar, John?
Yeah.
We've reached an inflection point with NFTs. I think we're at that point where we've moved beyond the early adopters. So the whole crypto ecosystem is just scratching the surface of what NFTs are.
So you and this Microsoft director believe that we're about to see an acceleration in adoption.
Correct. And that's why Yahoo Finance wrote that this new internet is approaching warp speed. And that's why I'm telling you that anyone who spends too much time scratching their heads and thinking this is just a fad, they're going to end up missing out on this massive trend. And I'll tell you this, I've said it before tonight, it bears repeating. If you miss this trend, I believe it could be the source of your biggest pool of regret that you ever have in your entire life. Literally the kind of regret, the kind of mistake that haunts you down and hunts you to your last days as you lie on your deathbed.
Okay. So with that, let's get into the details, because if you and all these big players in Silicon Valley are right about NFTs, I don't think anyone wants to miss out on this one. I mean, if I had to guess, most Americans, they're probably like me and they missed out on Bitcoin and the crypto boom because they thought it was just a fad. And personally, I don't want to make the same mistake again. Teeka, I know you want to discuss different ways that folks can profit from NFTs, and you're also going to give away a free recommendation to play this trend, and I can't wait to hear about all the details. But first, can you explain that one thing that made you change your mind about NFTs? You said it was just two simple words.
Correct. Two simple words that are behind all of the biggest wealth creation events, not just now, but in all of human history. So I want everybody watching to write down these two words because it's that important. If you walk away from this broadcast with one idea, this should be it. These two simple words are property rights. Property rights. Without property rights, John, capitalism wouldn't exist. America as we know it wouldn't exist. Wealth as we know it wouldn't exist. So, John, do you agree that property rights, they're fundamentally important?
Absolutely, 100%. Like you said, it's the foundation of capitalism and wealth. But what does it have to do with NFTs?
Well, NFTs are simply a way of securing property rights in the digital era. So digital property rights. And here's why that's a big deal. Our world, whether you wish to agree with it, whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, it's becoming more and more digital. Everything we do these days is online. We work online, we play online, we watch online, we talk online, we exercise online, we learn online more than at any other time before. John, do you think that trend is going to slow down, stop, or somehow reverse?
No, and it doesn't depend on your opinion. It's just happening.
It's happening. The genie is out of the bottle. With advancements now in 5G, virtual reality, blockchain, the trend of digitization, it's just going to intensify. We'll spend more and more time online. In the next generation of the internet, everything that can be digitized is going to be digitized. And in a world where everything is digitized, guess what? We need a way to keep track of who owns what in this digital world, right?
Right.
These digital assets.
Interesting.
And that's where NFTs come in. These tokens are a certificate of ownership registered on a blockchain for everyone to see. So John, when you buy a house, you get a deed that proves you own that house, right?
Right.
NFTs work in a similar way. They work as deeds, but for digital assets, any digital asset. And that's the part that most people still don't get. You see, any digital asset can be packaged as an NFT, not just digital arts and collectibles. So it bears repeating. Any digital asset can be packaged as an NFT.
Gosh, I've come so far in this conversation because in the beginning I thought NFTs were just those JPEGs that we talked about earlier. So you're saying digital arts and collectibles are just the first application of NFTs.
Right, take a look at the music industry, for example. In the next generation of the internet, musicians will be able to sell limited edition albums through NFTs. And because you can wrap NFTs into smart contracts, which are basically programs that tell the NFT what to do, you could get paid royalties automatically anytime someone buys their album. They can also package that with things like concert tickets and special access that is granted to just NFT holders only.
That's fascinating. When do you think that this is going to happen?
John, we're living in that future now. It's happening now. Artists like The Weeknd, Linkin Park, Madonna, and Metallica are all getting involved in NFTs. That's why Mark Cuban recently said NFTs will completely turn the art, music, and movie industry upside down. And remember, John, the beauty here is you can invest in these NFT projects directly from your computer, just with a click of your mouse.
Okay, so open that up a little bit. How do you actually invest in one of these NFT projects?
Well, for example, there's an NFT project called Theta, and it's using this technology to disrupt video and music streaming. So take a look at this chart. Anyone could have invested in this. Let's say you invest $1,000 into this project. Just over a year later, John, that small stake would have grown into as much as $263,274.
There you go again, right there. I mean, you were not joking when you said these are the fastest gains in history. I mean, that's more than 26,000%. Normally, it would take you decades to make that kind of money in the stock market.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? That gain is nothing really compared to the next project I want to show you. This one is in the video game space. There's another area where we're seeing major NFT disruption. Now, I know when I talk about gaming, most people roll their eyes because they think it's just a bunch of kids playing in their parents' basement, right?
Guilty, that's what I was thinking.
But John, did you know that the gaming industry is actually bigger than movies and the music industry combined?
Really? No, I didn't know that. So how will NFTs change gaming?
Well, NFTs are making it possible for gamers to own digital assets in the actual game they're playing. So the characters and items themselves are NFTs that can be bought, sold, or traded. So gamers are actually earning money and trading these NFTs in the game. And again, they're making real money that they can spend.
They're making real money playing video games.
Right, exactly. It's a brand new business model, and it's called play to earn. And it will change the entire gaming industry. In this new internet, most games will have this play to earn feature. And the nice thing about this trend is that you don't have to play video games to profit. For example, I mentioned an NFT project called Axie Infinity earlier. John, take a look at this chart again. That's a 36,478% jump. Not in decades, but in less than a year.
Yeah, you showed that one earlier. You invest $1,000 in January. Then before Thanksgiving, you're up to more than $365,000. That's unbelievable. It's painful to think that any of us could have invested in that.
That's why in just a moment, I'll tell you how you can invest directly in these projects. If you can buy a stock, you can do this. I'll even give you a free recommendation. First, it's important you understand we're still just scratching the surface here. So if you missed out on all those big gains from 2021, it isn't too late, because I believe the application of NFTs will get even bigger, much bigger.
All right, so you've already mentioned digital art and collectibles. You've mentioned movies, music, video games. What else?
Well, you see, just because NFTs are mainly used in the digital art world doesn't mean they can only be used for digital assets. And this is going to catch a lot of people by surprise. You see, this next generation of the internet will be so powerful that even real assets, like these chairs we're sitting in right now, will go digital. So what I'm talking about is the tokenization of real world assets.
Now, what do you mean by tokenization? Are you talking about turning real assets into tokens?
Exactly. For example, NFTs can also represent ownership of physical items like real estate. Let's say you have a rental property. You can tokenize that property and sell those tokens to a number of investors on the blockchain. Those investors then receive a portion of the rental income and get a profit split whenever you sell the property. That's why Fortune says these tokens may let anyone with a few $1,000s play tycoon and buy a part of a condo or even an iconic building.
That is fascinating. That is interesting, because the real estate market alone is worth trillions. I mean, that's a big disruption that we're talking about for sure.
Yeah, and it's not just real estate. Since this new internet will run on any blockchain-based token, you'll be able to tokenize anything that has future potential.
Like what? Can you give us some more examples?
Well, there are companies out there that have started to use NFTs to tokenize things like rare wines, diamonds. Another company is planning to tokenize classic cars like this 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO.
I'll take two. It looks awesome.
John, this car that we're looking at sold for $48 million. Now, most people, they don't have that kind of money. But what if you could tokenize this car and you could buy a single share of it, just like we buy shares of a company?
The possibilities are becoming endless to me.
They're endless. It's why Forbes wrote, most of the world is non-fungible, and everything that can be tokenized will be tokenized. We're literally talking about the potential for trillions and trillions of dollars in disruption. 139.3 trillion to be more precise.
Okay, Teeka, I think I get it now. It sounds like we're at the early stage of a massive trend. So here's the deal. What do you recommend that folks do?
There are two steps I recommend. And I recommend you take these steps immediately. Do not wait. Like I mentioned before, we're just moments away from a major catalyst that's guaranteed to happen. And it could happen by the end of this month. Once they flip the switch on this big NFT project that I'll discuss in a moment, it'll be too late. And this can only happen one time.
Okay, so we'll get to the details of this catalyst in just a moment, but what's step number one that you're recommending?
Step number one is to buy my number one stock for the NFT boom.
Oh, so there's a way to play this NFT boom in the stock market.
Yes, you see, John, some of the biggest beneficiaries of the internet boom in the 1990s were not the internet companies themselves, but rather those companies that delivered the picks and shovels that enabled this entire ecosystem.
Picks and shovels.
Yeah, that's the term from the gold rush days. The people who really made money were not the speculators digging and panning the rivers, but rather those who provided the essentials, the picks, the shovels, the boots. Think about it this way. You have a bunch of miners looking for gold, and you have no clue which miner is actually going to strike gold. So instead of taking a gamble, you simply invest in the companies that are selling those things that each one of these miners needs, hence picks and shovels.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Sounds like a much better bet.
Right, so the internet boom of the 1990s, some of the biggest gains came from these picks and shovels plays. For example, Intel skyrocketed more than 7,000%. Qualcomm soared 16,484%. And just $1,000 invested in EMC Corp would have turned into more than $1.7 million during that same period. See, that's why my number one stock for the NFT boom is also a pick and shovel play.
Okay, so let me see if I get this right. We don't know who will be the next Google, Facebook, and Microsoft of this next generation of the internet. But this stock that you're recommending is set to benefit from this trend no matter who wins.
Exactly. That's why some very famous billionaires are loading up on shares of this company. I'm talking about people like Ray Dalio, who runs the world's largest hedge fund. People like billionaire Ken Griffin, who invested $314 million in this stock through one of his hedge funds. Billionaire Jim Simons is also investing in this stock through his hedge fund, Renaissance Technology, which, by the way, is the best performing hedge fund in the history of finance with an incredible 66% annual return since 1998. His fund has even been called the greatest money-making machine of all time.
Wow, and they're all betting on this stock?
They all are. And the good news is everyone watching this can learn how to join them, because I put all the details on this company in a special report called The Number One Stock for the NFT Boom.
And everyone here can get access to this special report, right?
Yeah, and I'll explain how in just a moment. First, let me cover the second step I recommend, because the gains could be exponentially bigger.
Okay, what's the second step?
Well, the second step is to invest directly in my top 3 NFT projects. So like I mentioned before, there are several NFT projects that are building the backbone of this new internet. Last year alone, just $1,000 invested in some of these projects would have grown to more than $65,000, $226,000, and even $365,000. As far as I know, these are some of the fastest gains in the history of financial market.
And you think your top 3 NFT projects have that kind of potential?
I do. Take a look at this list, John. According to Forbes, all these companies are already investing in one of these projects.
So I'm looking at this list and I see Amazon, Fidelity, Google, Comcast, Microsoft. It's pretty big names.
Huge names. I believe this single project will completely reinvent the internet in ways we can scarcely imagine. And again, I want to be clear here. I'm not the only person excited about this idea. Elon Musk is personally investing in this project. Billionaire Mark Cuban is also putting his own money into this because he believes that out of all the existing NFT projects, this is the one with the most upside potential. Now, I put all the details inside another special report called 3 NFT Projects for the $139 trillion revolution.
And I'm assuming that you'll also make the report available to everyone here tonight, right?
Of course, everyone watching this can learn how to join Elon Musk and Mark Cuban. But before I show you how, I'd actually like to cover my free recommendation first. Is that okay?
Of course, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you know this, John, but most NFTs, they run on the Ethereum blockchain. And Ethereum has become so popular that its network is clogged with too many transactions. And that's driving up transaction fees. So it's becoming expensive and really inefficient to use Ethereum. And that's why their developers are working on a huge upgrade. They're even calling it Ethereum 2.0. And according to their lead developer, Tim Biko, they could flip the switch by the end of the month. And that's why I'm urging everyone to act now.
So let me get this right. You're recommending Ethereum because most NFT applications run on Ethereum.
Right. I believe you could 10x your money in Ethereum in the coming months and years.
And how do you think this upgrade will impact the NFT market?
Well, right now, Ethereum can only handle about 30 transactions per second, and the fees are crazy high. But once Ethereum 2.0 goes live, those problems, they disappear overnight. Transactions will become faster and much, much cheaper. Ethereum will be able to handle 100,000 transactions per second. That's more than 3,000 times faster than what it currently runs at. Remember, most NFTs run on the Ethereum network. So I believe this upgrade will trigger an even bigger boom in NFTs.
All right, so now I see why you're telling everyone there's no time to waste.
Right, as soon as we see that switch get flipped on Ethereum 2.0, I believe it's too late, and you may never get a second chance. So if you missed out on Bitcoin in 2012, You can't go back in time and buy it for $4. You missed out on your chance. It's the same thing here. This upgrade can only happen one time. It's not like one of the halvings that happen every 4 years. So you only get this one shot. And again, if you miss out on this, I believe it'll be the biggest financial mistake you'll ever make.
Okay, let's not waste any time then. Earlier, you said everyone would have a chance to claim the special reports for free. Is that right?
That is correct. I'll give you both reports for free. All I ask in return is that you try my monthly research service, the Palm Beach Letter, at zero risk to you for your subscription.
Now, the Palm Beach Letter is your monthly research service where you share your best ideas, right?
Yes, and today I'd like to invite you and everyone at home to try it for the next 60 days with literally no risk. And when you do, I'll immediately send you everything I promised here today, absolutely free.
All right, Teeka, that sounds great, but can you explain a little more how the Palm Beach Letter works?
Absolutely. The first thing you should know is that we do not accept advertisers, and we don't take commissions on anything we recommend. We're only beholden to our readers. So our business model only works as if we show them how to make money, and we do it successfully. And the way it works is actually very simple. In each issue of the Palm Beach Letter, I'll explain the biggest trends in the market. I'll select my number one investment for that month. It might be a stock, it might be an income play, or some other little known alternative asset I discovered while doing my boots on the ground research. I'll do all the research and just hand you all the information you need, and you make the decision if you want to participate or not. I'll tell you what to buy, what price to pay, and how much money I expect you to make.
Now, Teeka, we all know that all investment carries risk, and past performance does not indicate future success. Cryptocurrencies are volatile, so I know you don't recommend anyone invest their mortgage money on this. I also know that you're too humble to toot your own horn. You really are, but we have to talk about your track record because I was stunned the first time I saw it, Teeka. I really was. In fact, I asked the production team to create this special chart. Take a look. Now, since Teeka took over the reins of this publication in 2016, his crypto recommendations have gained on average as much as 281%. That's 18 times better than the stock market and more than 4 times better than the Medallion Fund, which of course is considered the best hedge fund in history. And folks, that's not just cherry picking. That's Teeka's actual track record across up markets, down markets, flat markets, you name it. So Teeka, tell us, how much does a 1-year subscription go for?
You know, John, it's funny you mention the Medallion Hedge Fund because they're the world's best hedge fund. And because of that, they can charge outrageous fees. They charge a 5% annual flat fee plus 44% of the profits. These are among the highest fees you'll see on Wall Street. So if you put $10,000 with them, in a typical year, you'd have to pay more than $3,400 just in fees. Now, like you just showed everyone, our crypto recommendations are beating their performance. So if I charge $3,000 for my research, I believe it would be a bargain. But I want to be very clear here, John. I'm not publishing my research for the benefit of rich institutional investors. I'm publishing it for everyday people, people that are watching right now. For that reason, we sell our subscriptions to the Palm Beach Letter on our website for a very modest $199. Now that's per year, that's not per month.
Wow, I gotta be honest, that is a lot lower than I imagined.
Well, it gets even better. You see, I know most people watching this probably don't know me yet. They have no relationship with me, so I understand I need to earn everyone's trust first. And so for that reason, I'm going to give everyone watching here tonight a very special discount.
Well, that sounds great. Now, before you reveal the final price, let me just do a quick recap, if I may. Folks, here's everything you get when you accept this risk-free subscription to Teeka Tiwari's Palm Beach Letter today. 12 months of Teeka's best investment ideas. Every month, you'll get a brand new issue of the Palm Beach Letter with Teeka's latest recommendations and market insights. Bonus number 1, the number 1 stock for the NFT boom. Bonus number 2, the top 3 NFT projects for this $139 trillion revolution. Access to Teeka's model portfolio, where you can see all of his current open recommendations, buy up to prices, and much more. access to Teeka's special reports library. Now, we haven't mentioned this yet, but that's where you'll find other reports like the Bitcoin Boost, how to supercharge your crypto gains with the 1170 account, where you'll learn how you can get paid interest in Bitcoin. Gotta admit, that's pretty cool. Okay, Teeka, tell us, what's the special deal that you're offering today?
Well, right now we're offering a limited special introductory offer for new members. So instead of paying $199 today, you and anyone at home can become a new member of the Palm Beach Letter for just $49. That's a $150 discount, and it will give you full access to everything you've just listed, John.
Okay, so a full year of access to your best ideas. That's going to work out to about 13 cents a day. You do realize that. It's an incredible offer, and it also comes with a money-back guarantee, yes?
Absolutely. I don't want your money if you're not 100% happy. That's why when you sign up for the Palm Beach Letter, I'll give you 60 days to test out the service, at no risk to you. And if during that customer satisfaction period, you find you're not getting information that could change your financial future, or for any reason at all, you can simply call our customer service team, which is based in the United States, and you can cancel your subscription. We'll give you a full refund, no questions asked, and we'll even let you keep everything you've received as a subscriber at no cost. So you can keep all the issues, you can keep all the special reports, you can keep everything. So what it means is that there's no risk to you at all. It's my way of saying thank you for giving the Palm Beach Letter a try.
Well, folks, you heard Teeka. To get started, simply click on the button below. It's going to take you to a secure order form where you can review everything one last time before you join. I already mentioned how Teeka has arguably the best track record in the industry. With that kind of performance, I'm not surprised his readers are pretty happy about this research. In fact, let me share a few notes that he's received. These are amazing. Michelle O says, "Hi, Teeka. I'm a first-time investor, and I can't tell you how sweet this ride has been. Your crypto plays have grown my savings from $20,000 into $135,000 in just 3 months. Retirement was a huge worry, and I didn't believe that it would be possible. However, with gains like this, I'm confident it will. Can't thank you enough." J.A. says Teeka has been brilliant at explaining the various investments in layman's terms and holding our hands through the downturns so we weather the storms virtually worry-free. I can't thank Teeka enough for his guidance. I can now look forward to a secure retirement. And you know, we talked a lot about missing opportunities today, so listen to what your reader Mark R. says. "Dear Teeka, your guidance and integrity have been stellar. I am a 60-year-old business owner, and 2 years ago, I made Palm Beach Research my place to get educated about investing, which of course meant saving the 1% a year I was paying an investment advisor. You even educated me on how to emotionally handle the volatility that comes with emerging technologies like blockchain. Felt like my chance to recover the opportunities I saw and missed in the 80s and the 90s. Apple, Microsoft, AOL, etc. Incredible." Well, Teeka, I know your time is valuable, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to explain this NFT boom to us. I've personally learned a lot in this conversation. And thanks for this no-brainer offer to your flagship research service, the Palm Beach Letter. Do you have any last words today?
Well, I just want to remind everyone that it's okay to be wrong. Everyone gets things wrong, but it's not okay to stay wrong. Maybe when you started watching this interview, you thought NFTs were just a fad. But hopefully now you see it's more than that. It's the future of the internet. And it's the reason why some of the smartest investors on the planet are betting billions of dollars in this space. So I'll say it again. It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong. Don't stay wrong. Missing out on this boom could be the biggest financial mistake of your life. I want you to make the right decision for you and for your family. If you missed out on the Bitcoin boom because you thought it was a fad, you now have a second chance. Act now, because once Ethereum 2.0 goes live, I believe it'll be too late. John, I want to thank you so much for having me here. Friends, I want to thank you so much for watching.
Well, thanks, Teeka. And folks, one more time, Teeka Tiwari, the man regarded the #1 most trusted crypto expert, is inviting you to join his premier Palm Beach Letter today at absolutely no risk to you. All you need to do to get started is click the button below. Thanks for watching.